Black Templars, Crusade Ancient, and Execrator. Welcome, gentle listener, I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and faces of the Warhammer 40k setting, the grim darkness of the far future, where there is no time for peace, there is only time for war. If you wish to see the channel flourish, then like and subscribe, but do try to lend a hand with a comment. Not only do I find them interesting and often enlightening to read, but it would help me out considerably. And today, we shall explore the newest positions within the Eternal Crusade. Yes, finally, we see the Black Templars being fleshed out just a little bit more. Although some might take truck with the vision and tempo of said warriors. Of course, I can only be speaking of the Crusade Ancient and Execrator. Now, the Crusade Ancient is similar to all Ancients across the chapters of Space Marines, but, as we shall hear, their role does have its variations, not only in activity, but also intent. See if you can spot the thing I mentioned in the quote. But the Execrator, a totally bespoke position for the sons of Sigismund, although there should actually be a little controversy about it, from those hardened Black Templar fans at any rate. But the why of that I shall get to after we have heard the meat and two-edge of the matter. As usual, I shall be providing a wee scene, a story of microcosm, to show, not just tell, what they are and what they do, before we get on to the hard lore. So, let's be about it. From the Bold Library, Righteous Fury. They had fought for 7 days without respite. Oh, there were breaks in the attacks, but they were never more than 88 minutes and 8 seconds. You could set your chronometer by them. And then, again, they would hurl their rabid hordes against the walls. And all this time, the 13th Sword Brethren had held. The enemies did not have to scale ladders or bring up unstable, swiftly constructed towers now. They simply charged up the ramp made of their own fallen dead. But the moment had finally come. All battles hinged on this moment, the time when victory or defeat would be snatched. Crusade Ancient Kesselring could feel it, practically taste it. The moment, it had arrived. He had known it some hours before. This was the 8th day. The enemy would perform their last pushes. For them, it was now or never. And Kesselring had done what any ancient should. When the entire localized command staff had fallen, he had taken charge. All along the war zone, the scum were being destroyed wholesale. It was only here, Bastille 696, that was beset. The Ancient knew the progress, tempo, and import of the scouring war going on across the globe. He knew that this fortification had drawn in their worst and most rabid enemies. It was here that the very soul of this world would be decided. He had looked across his men, his brethren, and his heart had filled with pride. It was so much like the foothills of Karanosh, the defense of Barbaron III, the extermination of Trintum. He had seen this play out so many times before. Yet, he was devout, he was pure, he was faithful, and he knew the thing his brothers needed most. An ultramarine would have requisitioned ammunition, for they had scant any left. A salamander would have requested an orbital strike, a Raven Guard jump packs, or some other frippery. Kesselring knew how tight the resources of the Crusade were stretched, so he requested the one thing his men truly needed. Brother Castigatus. At the tail end of the 7th push of the day, he had arrived. A single land speeder storm had skimmed over and around Flak Fire, jinked away from every last bolt or stubber shot that had come up at it from below. When over the walls, it had simply circled once as he jumped from it and landed. Then it had sped off again to rejoin the worldwide cleansing forces. Brother Castigatus scanned the walls and spotted Ancient Kesselring, marching up to him without a second of hesitation. The two spoke for only a minute. It was all that was required. This was the moment. And Castigatus would be his weapon. He would lead. The rabble at the walls were forces of the traitor legions, the thrice cursed, and it was irrefutable. The rabble had near been expended. In this last sally, they would use not Chaos scum alone. The masters of this ravening horde would meet the Black Templars today. They would be attacked by Chaos Astartes. It was but minutes away. Hence, Brother Castigatus opened his vox and began. Clutching the company banner, Kesselring stood back and basked. Brother Castigatus was a very able execrator. Astartes of the 13th Brethren, loyal and noble souls all, hearken to my words. Before us stands a baying curs at our door, the broken and unrepentant. But all I see is Grok's excrement, vile heathens, weakling vermin, traitorous scum. They have proven themselves pathetic. They have proven themselves inconstant. They have proven themselves betrayers. There is only one true God, and the Emperor is his name. Yet, though they see the truth of it with every vision, every breath they take, still the foe deny his godhead. Do you fear such impious rabble? Do you fear such undisciplined souls? Oh, they may wear warplate, may wield bolter and chainsword, but they are not holy. They are not as we. They are not men. They are not Astartes. They are a pale and lackluster lot. Their mewling to misbegotten charlatans cannot be endured. They are base-born dung-eaters, swine who slither on their stomach before witches. They grovel before darkness. If even one were to attempt to stand tall, their very spines would rebel under the weight of their shame and snap. Their two hearts pump muck and midden around their unholy systems. Their honor was lost millennia ago, their manhood with it. These are not Astartes we fight today. They are not even men. They are whimpering, mewling catamites. They are whining things that rock back and forth in the night, weeping at their own shame. They are lickers of the boots of their foul masters. Nothing can save them from our righteous fury. We go to take not one, not some, but all of the heads of the enemy. Permit none to flee this field of combat. Let none survive this clash of faithful against unfaithful. Bring the Emperor's righteous revenge on all who would deny his divinity. Now they come. So we shall not hide behind walls and parapets. I command you now, brothers, throw down your bolter, draw sword with me. Unleash your devotion, unleash your faith, unleash your wrath. Death to the traitors! And with that, Brother Castigatus leapt from the walls and charged down the rampart made of stacked dead bodies, sword held high. Crusade Ancient Kesselring was only 2 paces behind him, as the entire sword brethren followed. Each had dropped their bolter before they moved. Each had drawn their sword. Each now joined the avalanche of Black Templars that had turned an assault into a defense. Castigatus was without fear as he charged straight towards the pennants of the enemy lord, the very center of their line. Like a fighting wedge with him at its center, the Black Templars crashed into the traitors. The Templars had to wade through lines of cultists 10 deep, but this took scant minutes, Their fury was unmatched, their butchery a sacrament to their god. The Chaos Marines attempted to fire into the oncoming Black Templars, ignoring their own cultists, but few rounds hit before the wedge of black-clad Marines struck the traitors' lines. Kesselring backed up the chaplain, but that was all he needed to do, to make sure he could get to his target, the Chaos Lord. To do this, Kesselring and the two Marines next to him took out grenades and hurled them in front of the chaplain, clearing a path amidst the scum. Even those Astartes that were not slain by the crack grenades ducked and covered, leaving a clear path. Castigatus took the 10 strides necessary and launched himself at his target. And what transpired next was the greatest duel Kesselring had ever witnessed. Around them, the Templars were exterminating the cultists and traitors, but here, in this place, all around them stood with bated breath. The Chaos Lord had the experience and the power of old. He was a true veteran of the Long War. Yet Castigatus was like an emperor's champion. He shone with the light of their lord. And all throughout their clash, he derided and prodded his enemy, until finally Castigatus hit pay dirt. The Chaos Lord lost his composure and swung out with a wild killing blow, one Castigatus had watched for. Ducking under its swing, coming up with his blade from below, he gutted the traitor, impaling him and raising the scum high in the air. All around screaming broke out, as the traitor's last breaths were replaced with a waterfall of blood coming from his mouth. He was dead. The enemy broke and attempted to run. Alas, they could not get past the camp slaves fast enough, slid on their own dead, or were simply so dumbstruck at their defeat that they were near paralyzed. They hesitated, and it was their undoing. The 13th Sword Brethren would fight on for another hour. The Eternal Crusade had performed its sacred duty once again, and none of the traitors who marched under this Lord's banners survived. The Execrator and Crusade Ancient. How I adore thee! I have to admit that I dare not even own a single Black Templar model, or I would be swept away into the Eternal Crusade. I see the appeal, the uncompromising wrath, the honourable virtue, the single-minded zealotry. Terrifying in real life, but deeply alluring in fiction and gaming. To be stripped of all doubt, to see the universe in pure black and white. It is incredibly attractive to many. But what exactly are the Ancient and Execrator? As they are so new, I like to give you the lore straight up, without alteration or adjustment. And in this way, I let you decide how you view the lore for yourself. So, to quote, furled pennants and bold icons are raised in their midst. All proclaim the vows of the virtuous and their conquests over the corrupt. Most chapters draw upon the support of their chaplains and the standard bearers known as Ancients to stir martial pride. Few, however, achieve the strength of fervour that those of the Black Templars instill in their battle brothers, Execrators. The Battle Brothers of a Crusade's Reclusium have many sacred responsibilities. Chaplains and justiciars of varied ranks, some positions unique to individual crusades, direct the learning of incendiary catechisms, hear confessions, and monitor their peers' spiritual purity, safeguard the crusade's holy relics, or lead ritual prayers within austere chapels and shrines. Execrators teach that battlefields are the most worthy sites of worship. The roar of bolters can be prayers, and the slaughter of enemies a worthy offering to the Golden Throne. The God Emperor made the Black Templars for war, they bellow, so there is no better temple than the battlefield in which his most devout can make their supplications. Execrators are hardened chaplains whose duty is to ensure nothing stands in the way of the Black Templars fulfilling their vows in battle. They preach upon the front lines, with roared invectives and crushing blows from their Crozius Arcanum. They become a living embodiment of the vows sworn before battle, exemplifying everything the warriors who follow them should aspire to be. Execrators have led culls of entire war fronts and pursued escaping witches into the dangerous hidden depths of enemy lines. They have forced breaches that led to the toppling of citadels and ordered the deployment of Promethean barrages to scour the craven foe's lands, leaving them nowhere to hide and plot. Crusade Ancients. A Crusade Ancient is an unyielding guardian and veteran fighter. They typically chain their standard to their gauntlet in tacit declaration of their refusal to let it fall while they live. Crusade Ancients exhort their battle brothers to extremes of self-determination and the service of their Crusade's ideals, calling on them to unleash their reserves of strength and hate again and again. Each Crusade fleet maintains at least one vaulted chamber, whose hallowed walls are hung with the battle standards of bygone campaigns. Blood-stained tapestries woven from iron-glass threads, depicting saintly eradication, banners bearing the personal heraldry of commanders, huge shields to which are chained grisly trophies of dead abominations. These and more are borne to war by veteran Black Templars. Amongst this elite group are Crusade Ancients, warriors who are honoured to bear the iconography of the Crusade itself. Most Crusades have several banners bearing their emblems, and more than one veteran may serve as Crusade Ancient. Some fight with the Marshal's household or its fighting companies, or serve in ceremonial positions to cow allies with the vaunted glory they are privileged to fight alongside. End quote. Now one must remember that the Eternal Crusade has no place for psychers. There is absolutely no librarians. In previous iterations, it was due to an event where their psychers were all exterminated, or even that their gene seed has corrupted so that they simply cannot develop powers of the warp. Other iterations had them dealing with any who were so affected when given the gene seed. If memory serves, of course. I do my best, I double-check. But there have been 10 editions now, so do forgive any slips or confusion. But the reason this is of such impact is that it explains the import given to the chaplaincy of the Black Templars. They are zealots that give even the Sisters of Battle a run for their money, and that is saying something. Yet to some, the Execrator is not a perfect match to the Templars. Why, oh bald one, I hear you say. Well, gentle listener, it is due to the root template of the Black Templars being, of course, the poor fellow soldiers of Christ and the Temple of Solomon, the historic Knights Templar, who were transmogrified into ash by the French king of the time. Hence Friday the 13th being so doomed, as this was the date that the Templars were marched up to the stakes and lit up. But I digress. Now one might think that this template would be adhered to, for the Knights Templar were terrifying in battle due to one main thing. The main attribute of these warriors was not just their ardour, their zeal, their indomitable courage and peerless skill. All of these things added up to their effect on the battlefield, but it was not the true reason they were feared so much. And that was their silence. No other military force of the period, and few since, have ever been thus. Utterly silent. They did not jeer, did not cheer, did not scream their faithful devotion to the skies before or after battle. But what was most disconcerting to any misfortunate enough to cross steel with them was their total silence even in the midst of combat. When weapons pierced their flesh, they would not scream. When the foe came on at them, they would not shout or bawl as they countercharged. They did not indulge in invective, chanting, or audible prayer. The Knights Templar fought in total silence, and this scared the willies out of any they met. Now some might say that this creates a divide between the Knights Templar of history and the Black Templars of the Eternal Crusade. They might also state that the standard chapters of the Space Marines already fulfill this particular position, as it is few Marines indeed who will ever speak on a battlefield unless it is to give or acknowledge orders from the chain of command, as it should be. Hence, I utterly understand this divergence between the historic and the grim dark knights. I just think that the most intimidating thing in the world is not shouting and bluster, but the cold steely gaze of a man who has seen it all, done it all, and can end your existence whenever he chooses. That look. And I would also counter with the differences between the Black Templars and the Ordos Militant of the Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle, might have been better served if one side did the exhorting and the other did the silent sort of work. But that opinion, as always, is in the eye of the beholder. Hence, you should enjoy the new character, position and model of the Execrator, but this can lead to some fine role-playing as well. So, if you do own a Black Templar force, if you are ever stressed and need to let it out, just pretend to don the cowl of the Execrator, and invent the most debased and truly vicious invective you can, and, if possible and alone, hurl it into the void with every cell of your body and every strand of your soul. It's a game. Let's have some fun with it. But the fun need not end when the dice are all thrown and the models packed up. When waiting for the bus or held in traffic, can you come up with some truly novel and nasty insults for your Xenos or traitor foes? So, prove it. Hit the comments section and let's see what you've got. Perhaps we have a few budding execrators amongst us at the fireside of the guides. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. Like button, subscribe button, patron button, you know the drill. But also, go into either the description or the pinned comment, and you will see that we have new pins up. But most importantly of all, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.